welcome to the back of the classroom. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. I live in New York City. I was born March 3rd, Pisces gang. Did some college, graduated from high school. I had to do an extra 6 months because that's because I was a little hard headed. I didn't feel like listening. Hated history. Could not stand it. But yeah, grew up paying attention to what was going on outside. Used my street wits with my street education. Did good in school, so used my school education to help get me through. Uh, I guess you would say I'm African American, black, although my skin is kind of brown, but that's just a category that they put me in, and we'll get into that a little bit later. So my platform is two parts. One, I like to promote people who I believe in, people who want to do good for themselves, people who want to have their own business, whether it be services or goods. I feel like there's not enough platforms that help people get their business out there. There's a lot of failed businesses because people just don't know about it. So this platform is definitely going to be that. And the second half is just general topics and discussions about everyday life. What's going on in your neighborhood? What's going on in my neighborhood? What's going on out there in the world that could possibly affect you in your neighborhood, in your family? So I'll deep dive and give you a little bit more about myself. I checked with Ancestry DNA, and it had a little interesting discovery. I'm 24% Mali, 19% Cameroon, Congo, Western Banton peoples, 17% Benin and Togo, 17% Nigerian, 5% Scotland, 4% Norway, 3% Ivory Coast and Ghana, 3% Senegal, 2% England and Northern Western Europe, 2% Wales, 1% East Baton peoples, 1% Germanic Europe, 1% Ireland, and 1% Portugal. That's an interesting mix, to say the least. Um, I guess people would ask me, why start a podcast? Why do this now? Well, COVID made a lot of people uncomfortable, and the one thing I've always liked was a little uncomfortability. It means growth. I believe in eating good and exercise, and none of those things was told to me as something that was going to be easy and fun. So without struggle, there's no growth. Without struggle, you're not going to develop. You're going to stay exactly where you are and remain who you are. So I want to make some changes. So the purpose of this podcast is to rebuild the village mentality. I want to organize all the villages that come about. I like to see the evolution of others, and I want to see other people speak up. I want other people to speak up. I know a lot of people got voices and they feel like they're not heard. And what better way to get those voices heard by introducing them and bringing them on a podcast and just letting them speak their mind, letting them get things off their chest, let their businesses grow and flourish by word of mouth and just getting it out there. And why? Survival. I look back at everything that's going on and even the history I didn't like in school. It makes sense that survival was always the number one goal. You're not surviving for yourself, you're surviving for your people. You're surviving so that your next of kin, your family, your village, your people can grow and evolve, and you want to have a part to that. So that's what we're going to do. And that's the why. How, you might ask? Well, first, we're going to get the focus back on what's important. Ignore the distractions, focus on the community, and educate the youth. Now, what do I mean by get back to what's important? Well, that goes hand in hand with ignoring the distractions. What's important is the youth. What's important is the future. We got to focus on the now so we can get them to where we want to get them to go. But we can't ignore the past, otherwise we'll end up where we've been. So the saying, "Got to know where you come from to know where you're going." True indeed, true indeed, true indeed. And we're gonna do that by educating the youth. So we're kind of speeding through it, but I'm just giving y'all the format in which this podcast is gonna happen. And then, of course, we have the collection plate that's gonna go around, and that's because I believe I'm the voice of the people, and I'm gonna get the people involved. So we collectively have to grow this platform, and we can't wait on the algorithms, and we can't wait on the check from these podcast platforms and the media platforms. We have to support each other. So every once in a while, I'm gonna drop my Cash App, my PayPal, my social media handles, so you guys can keep up and follow with me. Donate what you can, whatever you're comfortable donating. Right now, I have Cash App and PayPal set up. So anybody who wants to donate through Cash App, it's $ Kingrel, KINGREL 333. Again, the Cash App is $ KINGREL 333. And for PayPal, the PayPal is going to be paypal.me/Rel Jackson. Again, PayPal is PayPal.me/RELJACKSON. My social media handles. You can find me on Twitter, Kingrel333. Again, on Twitter, KINGREL333. On Facebook, Rel L Dios. Again, REL space EL space DIOS. You can find me on Instagram, Rel Jefe. Again, on Instagram, REL_JEFE. And on YouTube, you can find me, Rel Jackson. Again, on YouTube, REL space JACKSON. And that's pretty much how I want this platform to go. I think it's very important and imperative that we get the word out there. So, without further ado, we could jump into these topics. Voting is right around the corner. I think there's something new going on this year because back in the day, you had a criminal record. They kind of made it seem like it was impossible to vote. Now, sounds like if you pay some fines and some penalty fees, you might be able to vote. In fact, we have somebody actually putting up money for Florida ex-cons just so we can get them to be able to vote. I'm not sure what's going on right now, but of course, in time will tell. But we just got to keep our eyes open, pay attention to what's going on, and make sure we spread knowledge to our people and make sure they get all the facts and not be distracted by the propaganda that's going out there. I also would suggest let's not follow the campaigns. Let's be aware of who's running, and let's collectively organize and come together and come up with a plan. What is it that our people need? What is it that our village need? What is it that we want to set up for our youth? What is it that we want to make sure our kids have? It can't be about us because we had our time. Right now, it's about making sure the kids have what they need to make sure they are as successful as possible. We want them to be the best version of themselves. And how are we going to do that if we're focused on us? We had our time. Our parents were supposed to raise us, and we were supposed to raise our children. We have to have our children prepared for the world, and we can't do that if we're focused on us. So, that being said, let's give them that catapult leap ahead. Let's look at the educational system. Let's look at what tools, what knowledge, what education do they need to have. We're in a age where they didn't teach us coding in school, but you know what? That's something we need to have. Back when there was home schooling, was before the education system was established, teachers taught outside. You had a hands-on experience. You was in nature. You understood what it was to be outside because a lot of the workforce took place outside. the educational system was implemented, and you had a classroom setting that's very similar to the cubicles. And in that workforce is what they wanted students to prepare themselves to be in. So the educational system is based on what they want you to do and how they want you to do it. COVID hit. Now, I'm only saying this to help draw your mind to where things are and how this system is set up. So now that COVID hit, everybody's at home. They want people to work from home. And now homeschooling is back into effect, but partially. Partially because some kids are allowed to come to school, some kids are allowed to stay home at all times, and then other kids have a 1 day on, 1 day off, 1 day on, 1 day off. It alternates. A days and B days, or however they want to call it. So 1 day you're home, 1 day you're at school. So you can imagine sometime in the future, they're going to have it set up so that you don't come to work for 5 days. Half the time you're at home, the other time you might be in the office. Some things that might need done in the office, they need you physically there for. Other things, not so much. So knowing, or we're drawing these conclusions, I might not be right. Somebody might know something I don't know. But this is why we're in the back of the classroom, because we get to talk about it. This being what it looks like, if we're paying attention to patterns, and of course, I graduated high school, so I had to make up those classes, which means I took the class twice, which means I understand a little bit more than I wanted to, but here's the importance. You got to pay attention to where you came from. Pay attention to the past so you can understand what's going on in the future, because there's nothing new under the sun. People are creatures of habit. If you want to implement something, you got to keep repeating the process until you get it right. They say you do 21 days of something, it becomes a habit. And it looks like this is going to be the new trend. Work at home. Might know in the office some of the time, but of course they prefer you to be home. But the upside to it is you ain't got to save on gas. You ain't got to spend money in these vending machines and these outdoor vendors. So some of these businesses might take a hit. Because in a restaurant, how do you work home from a restaurant? You might work the books. So that's pretty much more of a back office type of thing. But the hands-on part, you're going to have to show up every day. So the physical labor, there is no at home. There is you being in the field. And who knows how that's going to work out if they ask you to work a week or work 2 weeks and then stay home for 2 weeks. Just in case you caught it while you was on the job, you got 2 weeks home to get over it, and then you come back in 2 weeks and then they alternate. So the people you work with every day is the same people you're going to be home with. Well, not home and you're home, but y'all won't be at work. And every time you come to work, here y'all are. So that's another alternative that might happen. Who knows? But again, it's just something to keep in mind, because we want to make sure our families are in the best possible position to flourish. We want to make sure they have everything they need to be all right. So what do we want for our kids? If they're going to be home, we want to make sure they are computer literate. We want to make sure they can type at a certain speed. We want to make sure that the video conferencing and the technology to support these things are a lot better. So let's push this agenda with our politicians. Let's push this agenda with the manufacturers of the cell phones and computers and the hardware and software to all the technology that we need to use. We got to get behind them and tell them this is what we need, this is the demand, and then we'll let the people who are in the position to create make the best possible version of it. And you don't have to buy it if it don't meet the specs and what we need. We can take it back and send reviews to Microsoft, Sony, and all the other popular brands that we rely on to create what we need so that we can have the best version of it. Because if we want our kids to have the best education, we have to give them the best tools. So let's push that. And then when it comes to these politicians, listen, let's have an agenda. Let's come together. Let's organize. My biggest thing is organization. I believe we need structure. And with structure comes organization. With organization comes results. Because even if we make mistakes, there's going to be results. We're going to see the mistakes and we get to learn how to fix it. Go back in there, tweak it a little bit, and see if we can get the results we want. And we can keep tweaking it until we figure it out. So we can stop with all the issues and complaints. Yeah, we heard the complaints. Once we got it up on a board, we're not gonna write it twice. Write down the issues, look at it, come up with solutions. And we'll keep coming up with solutions until one of them work. We don't have to stop. We can keep pushing forward. I had a conversation with one of the elders. So you got your elders, your authoritative figures, and the youth. That's our village. And one of the authoritative figures asked the elders, what's changed from your era to this era? He said, not much. So then I asked, what would you like to change? He said, well, my friends, not so big of a group. So he can't make that type of change because his group setting is small. But he said, my group setting is a little bit larger. I said, okay, you're right. But he said, but then your kids' group setting is a lot larger than that. And I said, you're right. So it comes full circle. Our elders have been here, done that, and they've seen it all. They've experienced things during my life cycle and before. Us as authoritative figures experience everything our kids have experienced through their life cycle and before. And then when our kids become the authoritative figures and elders, they too will repeat that process. So the sooner we can get them equipped to handle things, the better off we'll be. But of course, our elders will give us the knowledge, the information, and then we'll pass it down to our kids. And our kids will grow up with it sooner than later. So what we find out at the age of 30, we could teach our kids at the age of 10. And then our kids don't have to take so long to figure it out or have the solutions necessary. They'll have the solutions at 10 and they'll grow up with it. And they'll tackle new problems instead of repeating the same issues we're repeating. And the reason why that's important is people are still protesting. My grandparents' generation protested. If we have to do the same thing they did, then something went wrong. To coin a phrase from Jay-Z, Hov did that, so hopefully we wouldn't have to go through that. If we're repeating the same thing our ancestors did, something's wrong. If we go back into slavery, something is wrong. So in the effort to not go backwards and to go forward, we need to learn those lessons. We need to pay attention to what was going on and what's happened so we can elevate ourselves and move to a better, prosperous, positive future. Now, I think that's important. I think, it's something to sit back and, really figure ourselves out and then see where we want to go with things. And that's how I feel we should handle politics. Wouldn't matter who's a Democrat or Republican, independent. Parties are just people who are backed by a larger group of people. So you got two large parties. Then you got your third party, and then you have the people you can just write on the ballot. That's cool. What's a debate? Who forms the questions for the debate? It should be the people and everybody who has an agenda. I watch TV, I listen to the radio, and I don't see Spanish people telling other Spanish people to get out there and vote. I don't see the Italians. I don't see the Asian community. I don't see the Jewish community getting together and telling everybody how they need to vote. What I have learned is these people are coming together in their community, in their neighborhoods, and they're coming up with an agenda. What do we need? What do we have? What don't we have? And they're coming up with an agenda, and they're proposing it to the politicians. And they're going to see who they need to back, who's going to support their agenda, who's going to push their agenda so they can have the things that they want. And then the person or whatever politician is going to back that play are the ones they go behind. But they do it collectively as a unit. They don't look independently. They're not saying, oh, you need to go out there and vote. They're doing it together. So we need to organize. And we need to continue to organize. We need to stay organized. And we need to stay mobile. That being said, there's things they tell us not to talk about. And there's things that we've adapted and we've learned not to talk about because it causes confrontation and conflict. I think that's misleading. That's a distraction I'm going to debunk. Because if we're all in the neighborhood, that's what we need to talk about. Those are the issues we need to have established, worked out, ironed out, so we can move forward with how we want our neighborhoods to go. How are we gonna not talk about politics and then complain about the politicians in power? It's because we're not having the conversations. So we need to have those conversations. Same thing with religion. We're not going to talk about religion. Why? If Jehovah Witnesses can come knock on your door and talk to you about it, if you can go to church and your minister or leader in that place of worship can have a conversation and talk to you about certain things, why can't that conversation be held outside? Why can't that conversation be held in your neighborhood? Why can't that conversation be held in your house? Because it's conflict. I've watched people argue about who's the best basketball player, who's the best tennis player, who's the best boxer, who's the best athlete. That don't seem to be too much of a conflict. And I've watched people play games with one another, and an intense game, whether it be spades, whether it be basketball, football, it gets aggressive. I don't see families breaking up because of that. I don't see people saying we can't do these things because it's putting us at ends with one another. There is a competitive spirit in people that we overcome things when there's obstacles. So telling me we can't have a conversation about something because it's too, I don't know the excuse they give it, but it's hogwash. We can eliminate that altogether. Let's have the conversation. This is the back of the classroom, and this is why we are here, to have those conversations and to make these things come to light. We got to talk about it. Otherwise, we're left behind because we don't know certain things. We have conversations, talk about how come these people have this and these people have that. It's because they have those conversations. They know. They know better and they do better. We have ourselves to blame for not having no conversations. So let's improve our communication skills. Let's do the research. Let's look into things. Let's come together and let's organize. I can't stress the organization enough. We need to come together as a people. We need the village. Without the village, our children have nothing to stand on. Back in the day, you used to be able to go outside and play and do things. And from one corner to the other corner, everybody knew who you were. They knew who your parents were. And they would definitely report to your parents if you were doing anything out of line. And at the same time, they would look after you to make sure you were good. You go to a neighborhood, oh, how you doing, Mrs. Johnson, Mrs. Jackson? Oh, all right, and they see you together as a family. I don't see that many families doing things together anymore. We need to get back to that. Take your kids shopping. Let your kids see how to shop. Ain't nothing wrong with taking your kids to the grocery store, picking out healthy foods, asking the kids what they want, what they like. Let them know what a budget is. Let them know how much money we got when we walk out the house. Look, we got a couple of $100. We're going to do some food shopping. We create a list. Let's look in the refrigerator. Let's look in the cabinets. Let's see what we have and don't have. Let's get the kids involved with understanding how the house works. That's part of an education. That's part of homeschooling. Let's get back to making sure our kids don't pick up learned behavior from outside the house. We complain about how our kids don't do this and they don't do that, but that's because we're not teaching our kids. How they going to listen to us when we don't take the time to teach them? And then when they go to school, the only attitude we know about them is when they come in the house, sit there and complain about what they don't and don't like, but we don't get to interact with them. We don't see what it is to teach them. So we won't believe what the teacher says, or we won't find out how our children are acting or conducting themselves until it's too late. We got to wait for report card day to find out our kid is failing. We could have prevented that if we were more involved. So I guess this homeschooling is a pretty good idea because now you get to be hands-on with your child. You can't ignore the fact that your child is struggling in a certain area, and now you, as a parent, will have to take the time to find a way to get your child more efficient in the areas they're hurting. Whether it be a tutor if you can't do it yourself, or you take the time and you learn it. The internet is a beautiful thing. Me growing up, I had to use the Encyclopedia Britannica. Now you got the internet. It comes to you at a quicker rate than me going to an index, looking up a word, finding the book associated with that, and then grabbing all the books that have that information and finding it to read it, and then writing it down on notes so I can put it on paper. Now it's on the internet. I can copy paste and put it in a WordPad, and I can have it. I can use it as a resource. You know how like my penmanship ain't the best, but that required a lot of time, a lot of writing, and a lot of paper. Now it comes to you quicker. So it really, the educating yourself part became a lot easier. And then we can teach our kids to do the same thing. I had to do book reports. I had to do current events. I had to take newspaper clippings, read it, and give my understanding of it and present that. Just to prove, one, you know how to read. Two, your comprehension skills are efficient. So when you're given information, you can use your own mindset to break it down and then be able to tell it to somebody else in your own way. That's how you show you understand something. Nowadays, people just want to say, I understand. Well, tell me what I said in your own words. Now, oh, you treat me like I'm a kid. I'm treating you like I want to make sure you understand what I understand. I need to make sure we're on the same page. So you can't be so sensitive about what it is we're trying to establish when it comes to common ground and understanding. I can say a word, you can say a word. We might not be saying the same thing because your understanding of the word can be different than mine. So let's come up with a baseline. That baseline is the common ground. That common ground is having the conversation to make sure we understand the meaning of the words that we're using with one another so we can continue the conversation and continue to grow and develop as a people. And the more we have these conversations, the bigger our village grows, the better understanding our village is going to have of one another. And then we can continue to grow. And then we can have that village and we can bring it back to where kids can go outside and play and everybody in the neighborhood knows who your children are. They know who the parents are. And everybody's looking after one another because that's our village. That's our neighborhood. That's our community. And then we can get back to the homeschooling of making sure our kids know how to do things in the house, whether it's maintaining the house. Start with just simply cleaning. Or better yet, hygiene. Wake up in the morning, brush your teeth, you wash your face, take a shower, any of the combination. But you need to properly cleanse yourself. You slept, whether it was hot and you was sweating, whether it was cold and you was under some covers and you started sweating, you want to wake up and you want to freshen up. Brush your teeth, you floss, your mouthwash, you take a shower. If you're not going to shower, you bathe. You definitely want to clean your face because you're going to put clothes on and your face is what you're presenting to the world. You want to go outside looking presentable. And presentable is in your own way. As long as you're clean, your hygiene, you're cool. And shouldn't nobody judge you for how you look because everybody looks different. Everybody's different. Nobody should achieve to look like the next person because that person is already who they are. We need you to be you. And the reason why we need you to be you is because your contribution is necessary. And if nobody told you that, I'm telling it to you. Your contribution is necessary. I need you to be able to do what you need to do and how you need to do it so we can all come together and we can all prosper. If we all play baseball, there'd be no basketball. If we all play basketball, there'd be no baseball. There'd be no football. Everybody has a different talent. Everybody has a different skill. We need you to be who you are. I promise you, those who might not be interested just might not be interested. It don't mean there aren't a group of people that would be interested. You just have to make sure your audience, you got to make sure you can reach your audience. So the audience you have is the audience of the people who enjoy the things that you do. Trust me, there's people out there who want to see it. There are people who want your goods. There's people who want your services. There's people who would like to see your entertainment. You could be very entertaining. I know people who sing. I know people who rap. I know people who have jewelry, create jewelry. I know people who do artwork. And this platform is definitely going to bring those people to the light so everybody can be aware because that's my village. That's my community. I want to see artwork. I know somebody I can go to and look at artwork. If I have this jewelry, I know somebody who could do jewelry. If I want to hear some music, I know somebody who does music. I know a couple of people who do music. My village, I just need to bring everybody together so we can all be entertained. We can all have the same resources that I have. And that's the same thing we talk about when it comes to school. The kids don't have the resources. Let's create it in the village. Let's not solely rely on the educational system to groom, educate, and raise our children. That's our job. Because then we're going to turn around and talk about we don't know our kids and we don't understand why they acting like that. We ain't take the time to get to know them. Our kids have their own personality, believe it or not. There's been studies that said your child develops their personality between the ages of 1 and 7. So from when they're born to about 7 years old, they're developing their personality. Everything after that, they're only testing it and using it in the world. So the personality is solidified. Now they're learning how to adapt, which means we got to give our kids a better example, whether it's taking them in the bathroom when they're babies, waking up, showering, brushing our teeth, washing our face, showing them this routine day in and day out. Get up. If they're going to have exercise, let them exercise. If they're going to have breakfast, let them eat breakfast. If they're going to have some type of studies, let them have their studies. Let them get outside. Let them breathe the fresh air. There's more to life than getting up, going to work, coming home, and just staying inside. Nah, there's a world we have to influence. There's a world we have to prepare for our children. We can't do that from being inside. It's just not going to work. So I need my village. I need my people. I need my community. I need my neighborhood. I need us to come together. I need us to build. I need us to prepare for our children, because that's the future. We was always told when we was younger, we're the future. Now that we're here, look at what we've provided. What are we giving? What have we established? What can we pass down to the next future generation to catapult themselves ahead? We got to keep building a solid foundation so our children can have the things that they need to catapult the next. So we got to give them not just enough for themselves, but enough for the next generation. And that's called generational wealth. And we got to pass that on along too. So let's have conversations. Let's bring people together. Let's not hate on anybody, and let's not wait on anybody. There's things we got to do it for ourselves. And then the like-minded people will come along and they'll help out. And don't feel away if the people around you don't help you. It's okay. That's not for you. There's a reason why I chose to do this. I didn't need my friends to buy my equipment. I didn't need my friends to give me the, how would you say, they didn't have to give me the topics. This is me bringing it to my friends. So my friends will hear it. My community will hear it. My family will hear it. And if it's not for you, it might be for somebody you know. So all I'm asking is share it. Those who like it, and keep sharing it. Keep sharing it. Keep getting the message out. Because today's message might not be for you, but tomorrow's message might be. So as long as you keep tuned in, as long as you stay up on what's going on, we can make the best out of every day. Learn something new every day, and it's not a wasted day. If you be productive in what you learned the day before, you can seize the day. And that's what I encourage from my community, my village. So I'm welcoming everybody to the back of the classroom. You are now part of my village. Whether you tuned in today, next week, next month, a year from now, it's an open door. The village isn't a cell. It's a land of people that can freely come and go, pass the message along, and bring people back into it. So feel free and tell a friend to tell a friend. You look at the people who traveled back in the day and spread the word. The word didn't originate with them, but they was more than happy to spread it because they believed in it. And we have to believe in one another. This platform is going to be about love. I ain't got no reason to hate nobody. And even if you don't agree with me, that's okay. I actually enjoy debating with people who have a difference of opinion because you're teaching me something I don't know. One, you teach me about you. I'm not you. I don't know you. Even if I do know you, I know parts of you. I don't know all of you. So these topics are going to bring out these conversations. That's going to help me get to know you better. And then you might be able to help somebody I can't help because you have the mindset for it. I can't help everybody. I don't know everybody. But together as a community, together as a village, there's nobody we can't help. And if you believe in 6 degrees of separation, we are all one people. And it's okay if we all don't get along. That's why there are villages. Some people who want to play basketball are on a basketball court. People who want to play football are on a football field. Those who want to play soccer play soccer. Those who play tennis play tennis. It doesn't mean people don't want to play sports. Just because you don't want to play the sport I'm playing, it just means you want to do something different. And we should be welcoming of that. We should encourage people to be different. Because that means we're more diverse. And the more diverse we are, the more we can achieve different things. You need a scientist to look into science. And you need people who are hands-on to build things. And you need people who can understand chemistry to create things. So encourage people to be different. Encourage people to learn. Encourage people to broaden their horizon. And again, together we win. Separated we fall. And don't think of separation as, oh, you don't want to do what I want to do, so we can't be together. No. We can definitely go our separate ways and still learn different things and come back together and share it. It just means this path that I'm on, you're not going to be with me on. There's absolutely no reason to hate. And I'll leave you something, a little gem. Studies, and you can look it up, and I say studies because I don't want you to take my word for it. I want you to look it up yourself. I want you to do the research, and I want you to be inspired to be better. When you're angry, you have a one-track mind. You can't think too clear if you're angry and you're upset. But when you're happy, you can think of a lot of different things. You can be creative. So being angry clouds your judgment. Being happy broadens your horizon. You can see more, you can do more, you can think more clearly. And if you can really think back to whenever you was angry, you're the only person who's affected by your anger. People might feel bad for you because you're angry. Let's say you're crying because of your anger. People can feel bad for you, but nobody shares that with you. No one shares your emotions. They're your emotions. So if you can get a handle on your anger and your frustration, and again, it's part of being in a village, we'll come together as a people and we'll help you. We can definitely talk about it and get things off your chest. But it's independently your emotions. So when you can get a handle on not being so angry, when you can get a handle on calming down, relaxing, seeing things for what they are, you can walk away from anything, because why waste your time being upset? Find something you can be positive and happy about and focus on that. And that goes back to what we focus on, not the distractions. Somebody do something you don't like? Okay, that's what you want to do, no problem. I'm going to go over here where things might be more pleasant, more my speed, more of my lane is something that I enjoy doing and want to do. And then you'll find your happiness. And believe it or not, when you go places and do things that you enjoy, you might find people who are in the same place enjoying the same thing. And that's where it's okay to be different from certain people, because you'll find a certain people that actually enjoy the things you do. And you just expanded your village all the more. So I'm going to leave you with that one. And I appreciate you coming to the back of the classroom. And I'll leave you with that.